There is no denying that trucks have crossed the threshold into luxury vehicle territory, which makes sense for at least a couple different reasons. For starters, they make the companies that build them a whole bunch of money, but even the way trucks are used these days has changed pretty drastically. Fancy trims like this limited version of the Ram 1500, they ain't just for the job site foreman anymore, and people are using these as six-figure family haulers, which is perfectly fine. But there are a couple things missing from this truck that I just don't think that I could live without, at least not for this kind of money. For more expert car reviews, don't forget to share our channel and subscribe so you can catch some of this and maybe even a little of that. All right, so I'm gonna kick this thing off with the same disclaimer I use in just about every truck review that I do. By the time you're watching this, there might be a whole ton of incentives available at your local dealer that mean you can get this thing for thousands of dollars off the asking price, but then there's just as good of a chance that the opposite is true, and you're looking at paying full pop, which is $104,000 before tax for this limited version that I'm driving that's been dolled up with a bunch of extras, including the Elite package. Now, don't get me wrong, there is a lot for the money, but that doesn't change the fact that it's a lot of money. And even if you could get, 20% off in incentives, that still means paying over $80,000, which is more than the MSRP for this limited version. It just goes to show you how far the truck market has come in recent years. Now, again, there are a ton of features for the money, both with the limited package as well as the add-ons. So you get heated and ventilated front and rear seats, this suede headliner, a head-up display, a self-parking system, 19-speaker stereo. The list goes on and on. There's also this quilted leather that looks and feels very nice. As video producer extraordinaire Will Johnson likes to say, there's got to be at least 2 cows in here. There is just so much leather and suede. Not exactly a PETA-friendly vehicle, but then again, I don't think most pickup trucks are, aside from, that Ford Maverick maybe. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is that this is borderline a luxury vehicle. It does just about everything you want, especially with this standard air suspension that is pretty comfortable. Does a decent job of soaking up bumps, although this is still a big ladder frame with no payload in the back. It does tend to kind of bounce and skip over some of these potholes, and the low profile tires on these 22-inch wheels, they aren't helping matters either. But this thing is pretty good in terms of ride quality. And it drives a lot more like an oversized luxury SUV than it does a pickup truck. But here we are at my first hang-up. All this money, all this fancy stuff in here. The one big feature that's missing, no massaging front seats. And I know some of you out there are gonna accuse me of being bougie, and I don't care, that's not true. The reality is, if you take a look at the Ford F-150 or the GMC Sierra Denali, both of those come with massaging front seats. So what I'm asking for here definitely isn't unprecedented, and it definitely puts this truck a solid step behind. And look, before a whole bunch of you jump into the comments to roast me on that, I get that brand loyalty is a big deal in the truck segment, but I'm telling you right now, I would have a really hard time shelling out for a truck like this one, knowing that those features are available or even standard in rival trucks. And I'm sure with the market being the way it is these days, there are lots of truck buyers out there who aren't as concerned with brand loyalty as they are bang for your buck, especially in this economy. Vehicles are expensive. If you're looking to maximize your dollar, I'm not so sure this is the way to do it. Now, obviously, you are going to decide what that means for you in the grand scheme of things. And if you're still considering this truck, it is very good. There's a lot to like. Like I said, the ride quality is very SUV-like. The drivability is very SUV-like. And I think that is a good thing, especially considering the diversity of truck buyers these days. These aren't just for the job site foreman anymore in these top trims. People use these as family haulers, and that's fine. But that also means that it needs to appeal to more buyers. But here is a big area of concern, this seating position. And I've talked about it a little bit in the past, but I really want to get into it here. And I do want to credit both vehicle engineers and designers, the way they work together, and kind of create a one-size-fits-most approach for most vehicles out there. Just think about it. You get into anything from a small car to a big truck or an SUV or a van, and generally speaking, it's fairly easy to find a seating position that works for you and your body type. This is one of those rare exceptions where I'm not so crazy about it, and it's pretty surprising given both the size of this truck and how easy it is to get comfortable in other half tons out there. The big one, this driver's seat does not lower any further than it is right now. This is as low as it will go, which, as you can see, I am pretty close to the top, but it's not just about the headroom. The other problem, this steering wheel, it won't tilt high enough to match my tall seating position, which means I feel very uncomfortable behind the wheel. And likewise, with this head-up display that this truck has, I can't see more than half of it. Now, we did try to capture it on video, but it's pretty difficult. It gets washed out, but I cannot see anything above the 2 lane markings to show the lane keep assist system. That means I can't see the speed I'm traveling. I can't see the speed limit of the roads I'm on. I can't see the road I'm on because this thing does have road and map information right there in front of you, but I can't use it. And that is a big problem. And just to put it into some basketball context, I'm more point guard than power forward, okay? I'm like 6'3". I'm not a giant. Yes, I'm taller than most people, but I think this is a big trouble spot, and it's a good reminder that you should definitely try before you buy. It doesn't matter whether you're talking about the Ram 1500 or the Nissan Sentra. Get behind the wheel before you decide to order one, because that could be a huge deal breaker. Now, aside from the way that I don't quite fit in this driver's seat, everything else about this cabin is very good. It's super spacious, and that includes the second row. It doesn't matter whether you're shuttling around a crew or your family. There's all kinds of space. There's also a ton of storage space. The door pockets are big. This center console is massive. I just can't get over it. You've got cup holders in the back, that fold down armrest. There's all kinds of stuff that you can utilize here. And the same goes with the exterior. This thing has those Ram boxes, those bedside storage boxes that I absolutely love. And if I were buying one, I would not go without them for what they add, as well as what they take away from the overall size of the box. Definitely worth it because they're lockable, they're dry, but they're also drainable. And that means if you want to go to a tailgate, well, you can load it up with your favorite beverages and ice, and then just pull out those drain plugs, and you are going to be good to go. It is super, super cool. This thing also has that 60/40 split folding tailgate. It's a dual action tailgate, which I do really dig. I know these multifunction tailgates are all the rage these days. Every brand has a different variation. I like the approach here because it opens conventionally, or it opens kind of like barn doors in a 60/40 split. But the big issue here is the bumper step. That little step that swings out from underneath the driver's side corner of the bumper. Yeah, it's okay, it works, but the problem is it doesn't work when the tailgate is down, and that I don't understand, especially when you take a look at GM's trucks. They have those little corner cuts in the bumpers. And then it doesn't matter whether the tailgate's open or closed, you can still use them to climb inside. I like that even better than Ford's that pops out of the tailgate itself with that little handle on the top. Anyways, those are the pros and the cons of the exterior storage. The other thing to keep in mind with all the fancy features in here, it can't tow as much as what's advertised. I think this thing's right around, 8,000 pounds, which is still a ton, but it's not as much as the 11 or 12,000 you've probably seen in those commercials for this pickup truck. So keep that in mind as well. Now, we haven't even talked about the powertrain, and it's a pretty good one. It's the 5.7 liter Hemi V8 that you've been able to get in a Ram truck for years now. This one does have the mild hybrid system called e-torque. Now, keep in mind, it is a mild hybrid, but it uses a motor generator instead of an alternator. You can see it up there on top of the engine. So that functions with the ignition start-stop. It'll shut it down and turn it back on for you. It is very smooth. It'll power the accessories. That part is very cool too. It also smooths out the shifts with this transmission. Not that they're rough without it, but it's kind of cool. It sends these little pulses of electricity when it's shifting to just make them that much smoother. And again, it's part of the story here. This thing is very buttery, very silky. It'll do 130 pound-feet of torque when you're accelerating, but overall output is the same with or without the system. You get 395 horsepower and 410 pound-feet of torque, but that's a ton. This thing also sounds really, really good. Both the engine and exhaust notes are spot on. What isn't so spot on is the fuel consumption. Now keep in mind, again, this is a mild hybrid system, so even though it can run the accessories and stuff, you're not going to save that much fuel. This thing is officially rated for 12 liters per 100 kilometers combined, but I have not been anywhere near that this week, despite the fact that I've had it in rear-wheel drive the entire time. I'm up close to 15 liters per 100 kilometers right now, which is pretty atrocious. If you are concerned about fuel savings, the Ford F-150 has a hybrid powertrain that is very good. Every time I've tested that, I've come away very impressed. Sub 10 liter per 100 kilometer combined consumption. That is where it's at. There's also electric trucks from Ford. GM's got one on the way. This one, well, there's supposed to be a Ram Rev on the way too, but that will be the last of the bunch to the game. Anyways, point being, don't expect miserly driving in this thing, but if you want a smooth V8 powertrain, there is absolutely nothing wrong with this one. Now, something else to consider if you are cross-shopping this against some of the other half-tons out there. Yes, you can get all kinds of advanced driver assistance aids here, like lane keeping, blind spot monitoring, and adaptive cruise control. But one thing that you cannot get here that you can get with both the GMC Sierra Denali, as well as the F-150 and the Chevy Silverado, hands-free highway driving. So again, if you are spending big bucks on a pickup truck, this thing cannot do it all, but all the systems it does have work really well. And so does just about everything in here, including this big 12-inch touchscreen. It's got wireless phone connections, all kinds of good stuff. And it also still has a bunch of physical controls, and that is great to see. To recap, I like the Ram 1500 Limited's smooth driving ways, the approachable way everything inside works, and the spacious and comfortable rear seats. I don't like that it's missing some key features at the top of the lineup, the awkward seating position up front, or the runaway pricing without incentives. Look, I know the TRX is the true halo of the lineup, but as far as a showpiece truck goes, the couple features missing from this Ram 1500 Limited definitely put it a step behind the high-price competition. And I know it's a little silly to think that it's massaging seats and hands-free highway driving that are going to make the difference, but it just goes to show you how far the truck market has come, especially at the tops of these lineups. Now, I'm definitely not here to dissuade anyone from buying a Ram 1500, even at this price point. Just be prepared for a bit of FOMO the first time a Sierra Denali parks next to you.